Hello, it's Ravas again. Welcome to the second video. And today we will talk about how to read calls for funds and how to analyze the key expectations by the fund. And when you are looking for funding opportunities, first thing you need to do is to pay close attention to the details. If you do your research and look close enough into the grant application procedure and guidelines, every European grant has one. You'll find a lot of good tips and answers to the questions and grant application that you might have or you might pose. Yet, the documents there are quite bureaucratic, mainly long, complex, and a little bit boring. So, how can we make it more user-friendly? Let's structure it in different research areas. First, let's identify the different forms of payments and structures in European granting. EU funding comes in different forms, and many times we look for the opportunities in just one funding form, thus limiting our chances for implementation and progress. Sales and projects are mainly not funded at all. So let's talk about the grant structures. First, it's actually basic grants, which are directional financial contributions based on a set budget and without any profit. Yet, grants represent the major part of European Union expenditure and fall in two brand categories. Grants that financed directly by European Commission or European funds and intended to help to achieve an objective that forms part of EU policy. Another one is operating grants that finances the operating expenditure of the body pursuing similar goals to European policy and European Union. Grants are based on the cost and cannot be expanded any more than the set value. Also, budgets cannot be for profit, so you cannot add some kind of contribution or profit part in your project. Then another funding opportunity from the European grant programs is financial instruments. These are equity, debts, loans, and capacity building and risk sharing facilities that are set by European Union. For example, European Union and European programs provide loans to businesses in all types of investments in research and innovation. It also provides grantees with helps and with consultations to obtain the loans and to make it more easily and with better margin of profitability. Also, EU may participate in the project by owning a share in the business. Another opportunity is trust fund. They are primarily for the opportunities that have more than one donor and thus created as an independent body. So no one donor can control the opportunities in such funds. Trust funds is a pool of funding mechanisms in which several donors jointly finance the action but cannot govern its access and its implementation. Each EU trust fund has its own governmental body which decides on use of the pooled resources. Also, EU trust fund acts collectively on behalf of EU and other donors. Another thing that can be used is prizes. Prize is a financial contribution given as a reward following a contest, which means that prizing is mainly for recognition of outstanding work or achievements, or to induce investment in the areas that European Union thinks fit for their priorities. Another thing used primarily for regional development and for agriculture, is subsidies. They are given either directly to farmers or individuals, or they are given to governmental bodies as the means to innovate and create more sustainable infrastructure. And the last one is the public procurement contracts. They are mainly for businesses, though most of the NGOs are eligible to work with them. Most of the procurement goes through the public tender procedure and therefore is based on competitive work. Public procurement is the purchase of services, supplies, and the contracting authority is the owner of all of the products and services that will be provided. This is the main difference between the procurement and the grant. In grant, you can actually keep the achievements, keep the opportunities that you've created through the grant procedure. In procurement, all of the goods, all of the things that were created are now the property of the fund. As a general rule, a public contract is clearly defined as a contract in which all of the product, all of the authority is returned to the payer. It's also a contribution either to a project carried out by an external organization or direct to an organization because of the activities that contribute to EU policies, which means you are working as the representative of such European body and you work on behalf of such body. Another thing that we need to understand is legal requirements and documentation that you need to provide in order to secure grant. First thing first is you need to look for the years of operation requirement, which makes two types of requirements. First, it's when your legal entity was established. Second, for how many years did this, your legal entity, work in the desired field? Another one is the legal status. There are several legal statuses recognized by European funding, though they are primarily individual funding, which means money provided directly to private individuals. Another one is grants for non-governmental and non-profit organizations, NGOs. They are the second largest beneficiaries of all grant opportunities provided by European Union. And also, they can operate within the set budget and therefore not pay income taxes. They are public bodies or governmental organizations. They are the largest contributors and beneficiaries to the grant programs in European Union. And therefore, most of the grants go to the local government organizations. There are also businesses, and they are more engaged in tenders or procurement programs, and also in financial instruments provided by the EU. And of course, there are farmers and individual entrepreneurs who also receive direct payment from the European bodies to such individuals. Another thing that we need to work with is geography, especially in cross-state cooperation funds. Geography requirements can be very strict and need more effort to properly match the funding. Please take a closer look to the status of participating countries and is it EU member states or neighborhood countries or other non-EU bodies. This means you will participate only if you match requirements that are set in this grant opportunity and are set by the geography restrictions. Another thing is the proof of competency, which can be verified by submitting a recommendation letter, of course, and by submitting relevant experience by the implementing team. And of course, the proof of financial capability. It can be verified by submitting the annual audits and bank statements that show the proof that you are capable of operating the set amount of funding that you want to do in your budget. There are several other very particular ideas and notes that you need to look for in every grant opportunity. Another one is the partner requirements, which may identify different roles of your partners. First, it's implementing partners, or those that you want to put in your application and those that you want to put in your budget. They are your teammates. They are the ones that will operate with you equally. There are also financial partners, those that will be put in the budget line co-contribution. Another one is beneficiary partners. They are the ones that either receive the money from you through the sub-grants, or they are the ones that will provide you with the beneficiaries for your activities. Another two partners are informational and supporting partners. They are not very much described in the grant opportunity itself, as they will be important for your implementation procedure. So when you put your application and when you describe your activities, you need to mention them, though you don't need to support any proof that there is such partnership. The last one is the priorities of the fund for the year. Every European funding agency has a background section where they justify the needs and funding specific goals set by the opportunity. Basically, it is free opportunity to dive deep inside their minds and thoughts and fund the selection committee's ideas where they describe what they want to do and why. Look for the key challenges identified by the fund. Address the justification with your own perspective and experience, as it will make reasoning more human and more understandable, and therefore secure your winning position.